Hi everyone. So I want to talk about the difference between rear support factors, flank support factors, and a term, a supporting element. Sue Laughlin Barker's Start Ancient Wargaming using DBA 3.0. These three terms appear on 3 pages in a row, 108, 109, and 110. Let me start with an example here. I've got a warband and a blade in close combat. Warbands start out as a 3 against foot. Blades start out as a 5 against foot. These warband are given a +1 rear support factor by our warband lined up directly behind them. These blades are given a -1 tactical factor by enemy pikes. 3 + 1 is 4. 5 - 1 is 4. It's 4 to 4, and let's assume that blue rolls a 6 and yellow rolls a 1. So 4 and 1 is 5. 4 and 6 is 10. The outcome of that combat is destruction of this element. Now, let's take a look at page 110. Combat outcome. A supporting element in close combat against an enemy's flank or rear recoils if the friendly element in combat with that enemy's front recoils, flees, or is destroyed. Supporting element here seems to be a more generic term on 110 than the specific intent of the term support as it is used on pages 108 and 109, rear support factors and flank support factors. On page 110, there is no element that meets the definition of a supporting element, even though this element meets the criteria and in fact gave a +1 support factor to the element that was in close combat, the warband that had been here. So this element does not recoil. This element gave a -1 tactical factor. That doesn't count as support per the intent of the terminology, a supporting element, on page 110. And it doesn't meet the criteria for flank support factors on page 109. So this meets neither one of those intentions, and it does not have to recoil. Let's use this close combat. Here you have a warband in close combat with a blade. Again, it's 3 + 1 for the support, rear support factor. And you have a light horse that is in front edge and front corner to side edge with front corner contact with an enemy element. Rear support factors on page 108. These apply when elements have another friendly element of the same type lined up directly behind them and facing the same direction, and both are in good going. Warband +1 when in frontal close combat against enemy foot other than psiloi. 3 + 1 for a rear support factor. 5 - 1 for a flanking tactical factor. Blue rolls a 6, yellow rolls a 1. So warband again is destroyed. The light horse does meet the definition on page 110 of a supporting element in close combat against an enemy element's flank or rear. So they recoil. Recoils if the friendly element in combat with that enemy's front recoils, flees, or is destroyed. So this element recoils. Now let's cover something that somehow combines the two pages 108 and 110. Here we have a blade that starts at a +5. We have warband that starts at a +3. They're given a +1 support factor from the rear. The blades are given a -1, so that again brings it down to 4 to 4. Why does this pike not grant a rear support factor to the 4 pike? Let's go back to page 107. When an element is in close combat, both to front and to flank or rear, or in close combat to its front and overlapped, only it and the enemy element in front fight each other. So this combat is going to be resolved between these two elements. This cannot grant a rear support factor to this because it's not fighting this element. It's granting a tactical factor to this element. The narrowing of the definition here comes in the words fight each other. So it says these two fight each other. Therefore, this element cannot grant it a support factor. Again, 5 minus 1 is 4, 3 plus 1 is 4, 6 and 4 is 10, 1 and 4 is 5. The warband's score is doubled and it is destroyed. Now what happens? This is kind of interesting. According to page 110, this element recoils. So they push back that element and close combat is finished.